Welcome, good morning guys. My name is Rakesh Diamond, Director within HCL Tech, overseeing the RCPG vertical as the delivery head within retail. Pleasure to have my guest, Todd Treonze, CIO of Reebok and Brook Brothers. Pleasure to have you today. Today's talk, guys, is going to be very simple, talking about overall retail industry, transformation, business trends, where we're at now, and what transformation looks like over the next 3 to 5 years. Pleasure, Todd, having you here.
Thank you.
Just want to give you a quick snapshot, background, a little bit about yourself would be great.
Thank you. Good morning, Rakesh, and thank you HCL for having me this morning. I'm Todd Treonze, Senior Vice President and CIO for Brooks Brothers and Reebok. I've been in retail since 2010 and excited to have this conversation this morning. It's obviously a space that has seen a lot of change over the last number of years, pre and post COVID, what's been going on in the space, and excited to share some thoughts on the topic today.
Absolutely. And the retail space has gone through quite a bit of transformation over the last several years, right? We have value, innovation, changes and growth has been there. And from your perspective, Todd, you've been in this industry for many years within Brook Brothers and Reebok. In terms of just what you're seeing over the next 3 to 5 years, business trends, outlook, what are some of the key areas of trends that you're seeing over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a great question, and we're always thinking about that as leaders in the IT space. Not agnostic to retail, but this applies to a lot of different industries. But from a retail perspective, what we've been largely focused on is, I'll call it really 3 main themes. First and foremost, there's this, many years ago, it was called multi-channel, and it was about thinking about how you service your customer no matter where they want to do business with you. And more commonly today, it's known as omnichannel. I'll share a number of thoughts around that in terms of how, as a retailer, you need to be able to provide service for the customer in a physical brick and mortar location. Online, direct to consumer, obviously, continues to be a big trend in regards to growth on any form factor the customer chooses to shop with you with. And then from the next generation age of digital customer service, right? How we can support you through things that could be traditional channels like a contact center, or even through chatbots and things of that nature. I think the second big theme that everyone is interested in, and I'd call it more of an emerging topic, is AI. Sure. And where AI is going to take retailers in terms of using the data and the science that exists to create unique experiences, to better serve you in terms of product offerings, to provide better levels of customer support. There's a lot of different themes that we can talk about in that space. And then to me, the other last big trend is always around how do we think about the analytics side of things, and getting to the data and getting to the ability to understand it, so we can then use that to feed the AI pipeline, if you will. So to me, those are 3 really big areas that we've been learning about, focused on, and really helping drive our business today.
A lot of trends, a lot of initiatives. So a lot of things that you mentioned, Todd, right? It's a journey, right? There's a transformation journey, which is never easy. And that's about adoption, challenges, new waves of technologies. Some of the challenges that you see, what are those challenges within digital transformation as a whole? Like AI is a big topic, of course, and to be down the future. What are you seeing in terms of just within the retail apparel industry, some of the challenges accepting those transformation changes?
Yeah, it's a very good question. And I think that when you think about who's the North Star in retail and who provides amazing levels of service, and service can be anything from what you show on your website or in your store for sale is available, and you can deliver upon that promise to the customer. You think about the Amazons, right? You think about the biggest of the big, and how that has changed over the last 20, 25 years, how people think about and what people expect as they shop online, right? Sure. You're talking about a large retailer who's a pure play, right? They're just starting to get into that brick and mortar space with what they did with Whole Foods, and now what they're doing with some of the Amazon Go locations. But what's always been intriguing to me about them is how easy it is to find things, right? And that came out of the genesis of how big they were in trying to find books in the old days. But fantastic search to be able to find product, an incredible delivery network to be able to exceed your expectations and how quickly you can get things. And then from a customer service perspective, how easy it is to return things, right? Because returns in retail are a real enemy, right? We see in fashion in particular, people who shop online, returns are almost 30%. 30% of units that are delivered get returned because it's a little bit harder in fashion and apparel because getting the size right is something that's more art than science, if you will, in terms of getting it right the first time. So we have to be able to satisfy those needs. So we use that as we think about building out our journeys and how to create the right experiences for our customers. I talked a little bit earlier about omnichannel, and I've been involved in that space for over a dozen years now. And in the early days when I first started to work at that, I was at Ann Taylor in the late 2010, early 2011, and that's where my journey with HCL began in terms of looking at that opportunity. And I think one of the big challenges that we had is when you're about to tackle a new technology space like that, do you have the right people on your team, right? The right people to architect, to design, to build, to test. And that was an area where I first began my journey with HCL in building out a team where it was not just a technology team, it was a team that had strong business analysts, strong architects, strong integration players who could help us build what we needed. And back then, that was more of a nascent technology. It was something that was much more code-based than configuration-based or AI-based, right? So it was a very different journey back then. But the needs are still the same today, even though the technology has advanced from on-premise to the cloud. The nature of still having integrations of that platform into other systems, particularly web stores or point of sales on the front side and into different customer service tools, you still have those needs today. I think as you think about the journey and think about where retail is headed, we have so much data at our fingerprints today. Historical information about ordering and demand patterns. Now that stores act as more as just a brick and mortar destination for a customer to come buy something, they actually operate as mini distribution centers. They all ship orders today. They all do pickup requests for customers. In the post-COVID world, the pickup scenario was something that for a long time, customers were a little bit anxious about getting into a store and going to do a pickup. So you had to create something that made it very mechanical from a technology perspective in terms of understanding what product was in what store at what time so that a customer didn't show up and get disappointed, right?
Sure.
So having the technology and the integrations to make all that flow and then making sure that from an operations perspective, the folks in the store knew how to service that customer.
Sure.
I remember in the early days when I was trying it, I'd go in a store and signage may not be clear, you weren't sure where to go, I'm here to pick something up, and the people behind the cash wrap didn't really know what to do because somebody else may have packaged the item and put it in a different area of the store, and we've all learned. The technologists have learned, the retail operators have learned, and I think along that journey, it's all about creating things that can better service our customers no matter how they want to do business with us.
Integration, solutioning, consumer experience. From your point of view, Todd, as a CIO of Ann Taylor's, Brook Brothers, and Reebok, internally, right, adopting and making a change is always the hard piece, right? What's kind of been your message then, just internally from an organization and from your team structure, like saying, hey, this is our roadmap over the next, 12 to 24 months. We know there's pockets, there's gaps of areas of improvements, but adopting change is never easy. But what's been your message, over the years, to get the integration, the implementation piece, hitting the ground?
So I like to use the analogy that, you never want to try to boil the ocean. It's a big thing, and trying to make that happen quickly, you need to find wins. You need to find quick wins. I think in this space, it's no longer a waterfall methodology where you're going to say, I'm starting here, I'm going to finish here, and it's going to take me 10 months to get there.
Sure.
The customer demands things ever exceedingly quickly.
Speed.
Our business partners demand things always faster than we can deliver.
Yep.
So, to me, using agile methodologies to think about what is the first chunk of work that I want to have, how quick can I get it, and we continue to evolve. So you don't plan this one macro project that goes on for a year and you don't see any value for a year. You try to break down your total set of requirements into logical chunks where you can deliver value every week, every 2 weeks, every month, whatever makes the best sense, right? A lot of that has to do with the speed of change that your organization can absorb, not just from a technology perspective, but from a business perspective.
Sure.
Right? How fast can the business team be available to help with user acceptance testing? How fast can the business team be available to generate the change management needs that will be there? Because there will be process change that comes with any of these new technologies. To me, that's been an important lesson. In the early days, we were thinking about this, as Agile was evolving more in a waterfall way, and your time to value would take too long. Like I can't take a year to deliver these types of projects today. I think the other big thing is know what your internal strengths are and know when to look for help.
Sure.
The marketplace for these technologies continues to be white hot in the US, overseas, wherever you might look for talent. So be ready to strike the right partnerships with the right partners who can help you scale as you need. Because the skill sets you have today are not the skill sets that you're going to need tomorrow to continue on this type of an evolution and journey.
Absolutely.
And lastly, I think, and this kind of ties back into the whole Agile and that methodology about, going first, learning, making changes and evolving, is don't be afraid to fail. I think you learn more from your failures as you're taking on the new technology and trying to embrace it. You're not going to know everything, you're not going to understand everything. And the other analogy I like to use a lot of times in this space is that, perfection prevents progress. So, you're not going to be perfect. You got to get it out there, you got to try it, you got to learn from it, and then make the adjustments. And I think the hardest thing to get is your business stakeholders to understand that in some ways failure is going to be okay. You're going to learn more from that than you are from, trying to shoot for perfection and never getting it.
No, absolutely. I think the value, the incremental wins, as you mentioned, right, and understanding short-term versus long-term, is a key driver in any integration, implementation, solutioning piece of the work. But what keeps you up at night then overall? Solutions are great, transformation is great, but what's really, throughout the week, throughout the roadmap, solutionings are there, projects are in the pipeline, evolution and changes are there, but what really keeps you up at night at times?
Well, I think besides the big ones, right? Like I definitely think a lot about cyber. I definitely think about what goes on in this world in terms of the bad guys.
Sure.
What could happen to you at any given time, because there's always somebody out there trying to get in, right?
Sure.
Outside of that area, to me, I think it's got to be about making sure that I continue to be able to retain my team. I've got a good team that we've built over time who understands these areas. They're experts in this space. But there's always somebody else out there who has similar needs. So making sure that we have a good way while we're running through a roadmap and trying to get our projects done of continuing to develop our team members, finding ways to incent them, engage them so that they want to stay with us and continue the journey. I think the other big pieces are just the continuing to be able to stay with the pace of change.
Sure.
Right? This is a space where Moore's Law definitely applies, and we continue to see new demands from customers. The way that they want to shop with us and the way they want to engage with us, it's changing all the time. And just trying to keep pace and understand where they are and what they're always looking for from us, and being able to make those changes in the environment as quickly as we possibly can. When I think about how we started, you think about the .com business of 25, 30 years ago, it's changed so much. It's not just about a website anymore.
Sure.
That website is a channel, and as an omni-channel retailer, you have multiple channels and touch points. And being able to make sure that no matter what your organizational structure might look like, if you've got a CIO and you've got a chief digital officer and you've got a chief customer officer, finding the right ways of keeping all those things to work together as a happy family. And I think that's where from an organizational perspective, finding that talent and finding people who think that way is something that I always try to make sure that when I'm looking to bring new talent into the organization, I'm more hiring for fit than I am for hiring for skill. You can teach skill.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm looking for somebody who's going to culturally fit, thinks the way that we need our leaders to think to be able to drive this transformative change.
Sure. And Brooks have gone through a pretty solid uptrend change, right, over the last couple of years. I know pre-COVID and post-COVID. You want to just talk a little bit about how Brooks have kind of changed their operating model, the way they're doing business, focusing on the consumer, innovation. You want to just highlight anything on that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
Right.
I joined Brooks Brothers in 2017, and
right.
a couple years later, COVID hit, and Brooks was a retailer that was in a situation where, we were in a space where to work is really changing, right? And we were in the transition period at the time when COVID hit, and when COVID came, 65% of our business disappeared overnight when we had to shuttle our stores on March 17th of 2020. So we went through a bankruptcy, and we went through an acquisition where Spark Group acquired us to become part of their portfolio of retail brands. And it's been an amazing journey since then.
Sure.
Entire new leadership team, fantastic new product designer, new product. Shifting the portfolio, we still have the product that's important for business occasions and more formal occasions, but we've also expanded our product offering to be able to touch and reach our customers on a more everyday basis. We really right-sized our real estate portfolio. We probably had more stores than we needed that weren't necessarily on the side of profit, and made some good adjustments to be able to have the right size brick and mortar portfolio while we continued to invest in our omnichannel experience, our omnichannel journey, our website, and really kind of ramping things up in that space. We answered the call by expanding our ship from store capabilities. During COVID, we were ready to deploy capabilities around pickup in store, so that when the customers did start to come back to us, and we did see a very big bounce back year in 2021 post-COVID, when customers who had been working from home for a period of time needed to reinvigorate their wardrobe, and
Sure.
that was a really nice win for us to kind of bring those customers back in, but have technology ready to service them when that happened.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's the pre and post has not been an easy roadmap for sure within retail across many other industries and sectors. In terms of just advice overall, and we're looking at global apparel brands, where we are now and the future, what it holds. What would be some of your messages and thoughts around, global apparel, retail? We know it's gone more in the omnichannel, online, consumer experience has changed, the in-store shopping experience has changed. What would be kind of that message going forward, like to leaders and just overall within the retail apparel, industry?
I think some of the key messages are that you're never going to know what tomorrow is going to hold, but you need to build a team today that can support what might ever come your way tomorrow. And a lot of that has to do with, like I said earlier, hiring for a fit, making sure that you've got people that are capable of learning the right skills to be able to take that journey. But always having an eye out there for what might be on the leading edge of coming next, right? This big buzzword around AI and what that's going to be. I think we're just scratching the surface. We're tip of the iceberg with that right now. I see a path where over time, all of the software as a service applications that we use to run our business, you're going to have embedded AI in all those different systems. And it's going to be up to you to figure out how best to use that in your environment with your business. I also think, if you are in the retail space, it's so competitive. There's always new companies bringing similar products up. This isn't like the drug industry where you've got patents and exclusive rights. I mean, anybody can kind of come up with a product that feels or looks very similar to what Brooks Brothers has today. We've got to be very good about understanding that and understanding our customers, so we can create unique and differentiated experiences to be able to keep them wanting to shop with us versus go someplace else. And I think you always have to be looking at your channel mix. Brick and mortar is important to us. Brick and mortar is not going away. We're always going to have stores, and we can drive very differentiated experiences in the stores. We can create a place where an online customer can easily and quickly return something. And when that customer comes in, in the Brooks space, because we're a little bit more of a high-touch business with tailoring and custom fits and make-to-measure and things of that nature, we look to be driving experiences through digital, where if somebody wants to book an appointment or somebody wants to come in for custom tailoring, we want to be able to start that journey online and close it out in a physical store. But we're also looking at wholesale. We're also looking at where we can place, knowing that we have about basically half the number of stores we had 5 years ago. And if we think about, where we want to be able to bring our brand to market so that a new customer can learn about us, sometimes that might be in a department store or in another partner store,
Sure.
In a boutique someplace to get the brand out there. But
Absolutely, absolutely. In terms of overall, Reebok's gone through a lot of initiatives around the OMS, order management system, omnichannel experience. Where do you see, I know HCL has been a strategic partner with Reebok on that, along with Brook Brothers. We've done some good work there on the order management systems. What else you see in the pipeline in terms of just the OMS experience, the omnichannel, in terms of really adding value? I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about cost, value, incremental changes that we discussed earlier. But within this omnichannel experience within Reebok and Brooks, where else do you see Brooks and Reebok going into 2024 with some key initiatives or heading into 2025?
So I think Reebok's an interesting one because Reebok was acquired into the portfolio brands at Spark in early 2022, and we had to transition them into our systems and into our operating processes.
Yep.
And we've done that this year. We finished that in the springtime of 2023. I think one of the interesting opportunities with Reebok is that we have the ability to use RFID in a very meaningful way there. Those tags that help us identify and understand where the product is in real time at any time is going to allow us to be able to present different levels of inventory that are non-protected, where in another business where you don't have that tag and automatic understanding of inventory at any point in time anywhere, you have to protect. You have to kind of set thresholds so you don't disappoint the customer and overpromise and underdeliver.
Sure.
We have RFID tags at Reebok, and we're actively working on getting processes related to receiving and inventory management in the store up and running, and then beyond that, really helping drive fulfillment. The idea of all the product is tagged in a store, and when an order comes in for fulfillment, that a store associate can take a Motorola device and almost use it as a Geiger counter to find that last pair of shoes that's in the store and be able to get it quickly shipped out. I see major productivity gains in the space for store associates that today, if you're doing more traditional picking off of a device that's not able to guide you to find that product, you might spend 4 or 5 minutes to try to find something that may or may not be there, right? So driving productivity around how quickly we can service that customer and save some of that labor in the store so we can free that capacity up to do other value-added activities within the store environment.
Absolutely. I think in-store environment, the consumer experience has drastically changed over the last couple of years. In terms of just where we're heading out to be in terms of AI, is there a specific area you would think about AI to be a driving factor in terms of just in-store, out-store, experiences within AI? Is there a particular segment that Brooks or Reebok might be looking at, or overall global apparel industry should be looking at?
I think with AI, it's going to be about dipping your toe in the water,
Sure.
trying things out, see what works, and then expanding over time. We're already starting to do things with customer service. A chatbot is something
Sure.
that's not the old chatbot. It's got a lot more power behind it now.
Sure.
In regards to, in generation one, you were using a chatbot to kind of take an AFQ and be able to answer something that was quick and easy for a customer. Now we can embed some of the AI capabilities behind that to start to drive sales proposals, right? Start to do things that we couldn't do in years past. So I think that's an area that we are already starting to test into. I also think that AI is going to drive an incredible increase in search capabilities, right? If you think about what Google is, in essence, it's been a massive search engine for so many years. And what you're seeing now with ChatGPT and everything else that's out there is the ability to kind of take that and really put it on steroids, if you will, and take it to the next level.
Absolutely.
And I think about our web businesses and search and trying to find things, on our website or in our store. I think there's going to be a bit more that can happen there. And personalization has always been another theme in retail that we've been after for a while, in regards to how can we create an experience that's not the same for everybody, but unique to one. And I think the data that we have on one side and the capabilities related to what AI can help us bring embedded into different applications are going to allow us to, you walk into a store and we know that you have this blue suit today. Here's a tie, here's socks, here's, being able to propose other things that can complement that outfit. At the end of the day, that's going to yield increase in bag or increase in cart, extra units that we can sell based on how we know you and how you've interacted with us as a brand in the past.
Absolutely, absolutely. Top of your industries and brands itself, but closing thoughts in terms of just where we're headed and Brooks and Reebok overall.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about two brands. Brooks Brothers is 205 years old.
Yep.
Reebok is well over 100 years old as well. A lot of heritage, a lot of history, a lot of loyal customers. But we have to continue to adapt and we have to continue to evolve.
Yep.
I think about, anybody can think about pre-COVID, post-COVID, the retailers of the past that are no longer here, right? And a lot of ways, if you don't think about what's coming next and truly understand your customer and create the right levels of engaging experiences, in the spirit of omnichannel, but really in the spirit of servicing a customer, no matter where they want to do business with you, there will be more. There will be more retail failures down the road. It is a highly competitive industry. And in some ways it's a fickle industry, particularly in the brands that lean more towards fashion, right? If you don't get the fashion right and somebody doesn't buy it, you're forced down a journey where you're going to continue to take markdowns until you get rid of that product. And no one wants to be in that space. But I do think that, for those that have the fortitude and are willing to try some of these new technologies and some of the new things that are out there, it's only going to bolster your ability to be able to be that player from an ongoing basis. So it's truly an exciting space, and excited to see where it takes us over the coming years.
No, you guys have been a great partner. Looking forward, more years to do a lot of work together and continue this experience. Appreciate it, Todd. Thank you for stopping by, having this discussion, and looking forward to more discussions in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I want to thank HCL for being a fantastic partner and helping us on this journey. It's been a long road. We got a lot more to do, and I'm excited for what comes next.